History isn't just a collection of dates and names, it's a tapestry woven with threads of individual actions and decisions. History is shaped by moments, those pivotal instances where the course of events can be forever altered. These moments often arise from the potent mix of personal vengeance and ambition. The desires and rivalries of individuals, especially those in positions of power, can ignite conflicts that reshape entire societies. On a sweltering July day in 1187, the stage was set for one such moment. The sun beat down mercilessly, baking the arid landscape. Sultan Saladin, the renowned leader of the Ayyubid dynasty, stood victorious, facing two captured Crusader leaders, brought before him as prisoners of war. One was King Guy of Jerusalem, the titular head of the Crusader kingdom, now humbled in defeat, and the other, Reynald de Chatillon, a notorious and controversial figure in the Crusader ranks. Saladin, famed throughout the lands for his chivalry and mercy, offered a cup of water to the king, a gesture of respect and a sign of his noble character. But when Reynald, parched and desperate, reached for the cup, Saladin's demeanor underwent a chilling transformation, his expression turning cold and hard. Why did Saladin, a ruler celebrated for his clemency and just rule, single out Reynald for a different fate? A fate far removed from the mercy he showed to others. Why was Reynald marked for death? Reynald was no ordinary foe. He was a man who inspired fear and loathing in equal measure. He was a breaker of truces, a man who saw treaties as mere inconveniences to be discarded when they no longer served his purpose. He was a blasphemer, a man who openly mocked and desecrated the sacred beliefs of others. And he was a scourge upon the Holy Land, a constant source of conflict and instability, his actions leaving a trail of destruction and resentment in their wake. For Saladin, Reynald's crimes were not just political or military, they were deeply personal, an insult that could not be ignored. They represented a direct affront to his faith, to his sense of justice, and to the very principles he stood for. Their clash, born from years of animosity and fueled by profound differences, would become a defining moment in the history of the Crusades, a moment where personal hatred shaped the fate of kingdoms and altered the course of history. Reynald arrived in the Holy Land as a minor French knight, but his ambition was boundless. Through marriage, he became Prince of Antioch, ruling with brutality and greed. He tortured fellow Christians and pillaged Cyprus, shocking even his own allies. 16 years in an Aleppo prison only hardened him. Upon release, he seized Kerak, a fortress dominating vital trade routes. Reynald repeatedly broke truces, attacking caravans and civilians, defying both Saladin and his own king. Each raid was a direct insult to Saladin's authority. Reynald's lawlessness threatened the fragile peace of the region. Reynald's violence escalated into religious provocation. In 1182, he launched a pirate fleet in the Red Sea, aiming to attack Mecca and Medina, an unthinkable sacrilege. Though Saladin's navy stopped him, the insult was unforgettable. Reynald's raids continued, and in 1187 he attacked a major caravan under truce, possibly carrying Saladin's own family. This final outrage shattered any hope for peace. Saladin's patience was gone. His oath to kill Reynald became a mission. The Sultan began to gather his armies. Reynald's provocations had turned a political conflict into a holy war. The stage was set for a reckoning. The year is 1187. Tensions in the Holy Land were reaching a boiling point. Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, saw an opportunity to strike a decisive blow against the Crusader kingdoms. His target, the city of Tiberias, a key Crusader stronghold overlooking the Sea of Galilee. In July, Saladin's forces moved swiftly, laying siege to Tiberias. This bold move forced the Crusader army, led by King Guy of Lusignan, to make a fateful decision: to march across the scorching arid plains towards the besieged city. The Crusaders were about to enter a deadly trap. Within the Crusader ranks, not all agreed with this course of action. Count Raymond of Tripoli, a seasoned commander familiar with the region and Saladin's tactics, urged caution and advocated for a more defensive strategy. However, his counsel was ignored. Reynald de Chatillon, known for his recklessness and hatred of Muslims, along with the Templar Knights, pressured King Guy to launch an immediate and aggressive advance. This decision would prove disastrous for the Crusader army. As the Crusaders marched, Saladin's skilled cavalry relentlessly harassed their column, disrupting their formation and wearing down their strength. Saladin's forces employed a scorched earth policy, burning the dry grassland ahead of the Crusader army, further increasing their thirst and misery. Crucially, they also cut off the Crusaders' access to vital water sources. Exhausted, demoralized, and increasingly desperate for water, the Crusader army found itself surrounded by Saladin's forces. The trap was sprung. The Crusader army was now isolated and vulnerable, positioned near the strategic location known as the Horns of Hattin, not far from the shimmering waters of the Sea of Galilee, a cruel reminder of the water they couldn't reach. On July 4, 1187, the Battle of Hattin commenced. Deprived of water and weakened by the march, the Crusader army was no match for Saladin's fresh and well-supplied troops. The battle quickly turned into a massacre. The Christian army's resistance crumbled. King Guy and the infamous Reynald de Chatillon were captured on the battlefield, marking a turning point in the Crusades. Saladin's victory at Hattin was total and devastating for the Crusader cause. He had effectively destroyed the Crusader force, leaving the Crusader kingdoms vulnerable. At long last, the Sultan had in his grasp his most hated enemy, Reynald de Chatillon, a man known for his treachery and brutality. The fate of Reynald de Chatillon was sealed the moment he was captured. For Saladin, the moment of vengeance, long anticipated, had finally arrived. In Saladin's tent, the defeated King Guy was offered water, a gesture of mercy. When Reynald drank, Saladin made it clear the promise of mercy was not for him. Saladin confronted Reynald, listing his crimes: broken truces, attacks on pilgrims, and blasphemy. Reynald remained defiant, sealing his fate. Saladin offered him one last chance: convert to Islam and live. Reynald refused. Saladin struck him down personally, fulfilling his oath. Reynald's body was dragged from the tent. King Guy, spared, witnessed the price of relentless provocation. Saladin's justice was swift and final. Saladin's execution of Reynald was extraordinary, a departure from the established norms of warfare and diplomacy in that era. It was a moment that would be etched in the annals of history, sparking debate and discussion for centuries to come. It was a rare act of personal vengeance from a ruler known for mercy, a leader often celebrated for his compassion and understanding even towards his adversaries. This single act stood in stark contrast to his otherwise magnanimous character. It sent a powerful message resonating throughout the lands. It was a declaration that some crimes, blasphemy, the ultimate disrespect towards the divine, treachery, the violation of sacred oaths and agreements, attacks on innocents, the targeting of the vulnerable and defenseless, were beyond forgiveness, offenses so heinous that they demanded the ultimate price. Reynald was not just an enemy on the battlefield, he was a symbol of chaos and broken faith, a representation of the discord and instability that plagued the region. Even Christian chroniclers, often biased against Saladin, admitted his recklessness brought disaster upon the Crusader states, acknowledging the role he played in instigating conflict. In the Muslim world, Saladin's act was celebrated not as mere revenge, but as righteous justice, a necessary act to restore balance and uphold the principles of their faith. Today, Saladin is widely remembered and revered as a noble leader, a figure of chivalry and wisdom, while Reynald is often portrayed as a villain, a reckless provocateur whose actions ultimately doomed his cause and contributed to the downfall of the Crusader kingdom. Their final encounter remains a stark lesson in the power of personal enmity to shape the course of history, demonstrating how individual conflicts can have far-reaching consequences. The sword stroke in Saladin's tent was not just the end of a man, it was history's judgment, a definitive statement on the consequences of betrayal and the enduring quest for justice.